If anybody's got any housekeeping announcements, now's the time. If not, then we'll just dig in and go forward. I do want to welcome you and tell you how much I appreciate you. I know everybody's given up something to participate in these, and I can't tell you what it means, both in terms of your professionalism and in terms of your personal commitment to what it is that we're doing. So thanks. Our topic tonight is the assistant referee. And rather than all the bullet points first, I thought I would start with this. This is modified rules. So you're going to notice that it's got college out of bounds rules, but this is one of the postseason championships last year. I hope. Let's see if I can get back to that. There we go. I started with this because obviously they bring in pretty high-powered referees for this experience, this ASICS Who's Number One series. I know that the kid in the green jersey was a state runner-up in Jersey, and the kid in the black, pretty high-profile kid. But these referees, if you watch that right there, do a really nice job. I did capture the entire first period on this. The trajectory, the mirror that the assistant referee is using here is extremely well done. Okay, here we go to the edge. And this is college out of bounds rules. It's modified. Nice rotation there. So the referee is leading the athletes back to the center, which is appropriate, but the assistant also kind of herds that last guy in. It's very nicely done. I think the spacing is good. The distance from the athletes is good. The rotation is good. The awareness of what it is that the lead referee needs in terms of positioning, this assistant does a really nice job. Nice change in direction, cuts the center of the mat. If anybody's interested, the assistant referee is Sammy Julian, who worked the 2016 Olympic Games. I would say Sammy's probably not the best in the world, but I'd put him in the top 5. And I believe you'll see him in the Olympic Games again next year. Actually, that false start call was made by the assistant. Okay.
Do you know why you came over and talked to him there?
And I'm really thrilled that you asked that question, because I got to get my show back here. Not getting a slide. Here we go. Yeah, Scott, you asked that If you notice, there was no tapper that came onto the mat. So in this for money special postseason event, there was a special request made to have the assistant referee serve as tapper, if you want to call it that, or time announcer, if you want to call it that.
Gotcha.
So here's what we want to look at in general tonight. I make an effort not to read slides to people because I know what that does to 14-year-olds, and I know what it does to me. I will comment on that last bullet point. The theory versus practice actually plays a role here. What the rules on the assistant referee actually say and how each state or each local group apply that theory really does vary. So you'll see that as we're going along. If we look through the 2020, excuse me, that says 2029. Please ignore my typo. The 2019-2020 rule book, and this will stay the same in 2021. But it says, bullet A, that constant verbal communication is necessary. That's where I get that theory versus practice interpretation. You know, because every region of the country, every local association in the country, and every group of referees assigned to any tournament will interpret that letter A differently. So we'll talk a little bit about verbal communication and the word constant and what that actually means. Okay, letter B talks about the trajectory that I was speaking of, and this is something that I really enjoy working hard at. When I'm in the assistant referee's role, I want to make everything easier for my referee. If he needs me to counter rotate to him or her, that's what will happen. If it's a person that wants me to rotate in sync with them, I can pick up on that, and it just comes from knowing who you're working with. Okay, letter C there talks about a high-low view in a near-fall situation. You know, and it phrases it in different words, but we want our lead referee to be able to change levels and focus completely on being in position to diagnose a fall. That gives our assistant some, and at times most, clock privileges. It also gives our assistant responsibility for an eye gouge or a fish hook or, you know, a punch to the forehead or whatever the defensive wrestler might employ falsely to get off their back. And a very important situation in the relationship between the referee and the assistant referee. Here it talks about infractions and technical violations like locking hands, grasping, you know, and there's a situation that I'll point to in just a minute that comes from the case book that really highlights that well. This letter E is spot on, well worded, exactly what we need. As I said before, as an assistant, I want to make everything easy for my referee because that's going to lead to as close to perfection as we can get in diagnosing the match. Okay, letter F, when necessary. And that's a point of interpretation in theory versus practice. When necessary, the referee and the assistant shall meet briefly. We're going to talk about that some. I will give you a preview. When necessary is about 97% of the time initiated by the lead referee. I'll give you that 3% of the time when the assistant referee just absolutely has to speak up first. 3 versus 97 is a point that we will discuss. Okay, and then finally, letter G in this view says what happens if we disagree. The assistant referee has a voice and the referee has a decision. Enough said. Here's how that finishes on the next page. The referee finalizes that decision and then communicates with the scorers table and if necessary, the coaches about what the decision was. This letter I talks about actually, I guess, not communication. And this is a discussion in that theory versus practice element. I didn't see Paul and Jet come on. I was really pretty hyper-focused here. Welcome, guys. It's nice to have you. But the being able to chirp on the assistant referee is not a thing, and I know that's something that goes on, but we'll discuss that as we go. Okay, then we get another technique specific. Hi, Mika. I'm sorry, Mika. I read before I thought. Mika.
Yeah, you're good.
Here's another high-low situation with any other, a side headlock or a front headlock, or whether it went from feet to back or how it got there. But that high-low positioning is yet another really critical part of the assistant referee's role. Okay, and then finally, both of the referees, assistant and lead, share observing opportunities or observing responsibilities as people are leaving the mat. Okay, now here's a look at casebook, and this is a nice sample here where assistant referee is in brilliant position as a down wrestler comes to a stand-up position and sees the locked hands and signals the locked hands. The question that hasn't been answered yet is the reaction time part of that rule application. And so in this situation, there may be a discussion between the assistant and the lead referee. The lead referee is going to be the person in charge of diagnosing that reaction time. So we'll get to that. Okay. This is 2016 NCAA, so you're looking at college out of bounds rules again here. This, and those of you that have been in clinics with me, I've shown this video several times. This is maybe one of the best examples of an assistant referee's communication and contribution and positioning that I have seen, and I think I've seen plenty. So I've got 2 clips from this match. Here we go. So you can see in that, and for I have to get my disclaimer out there. Man, I was hoping Hondo or Willie or some of those guys would be on so that I could make my standard comment about Texas and their contribution to Bo Nickel. Texas managed to not screw Bo Nickel up after New Mexico produced him. So you guys, Mika, you can share that with those guys for me. But what you saw there with college out of bounds rules, and I can play it again for you. Watch the lead referee here. This guy just about wets himself when this happens.
Oof.
He was in a word, excited. That's not how this was supposed to go. But and then here's a replay from a different angle. I just want you to pay attention to the assistant referee's positioning and his nonverbal communication while this referee is completely panicked. This is a different angle. Stays calm, collected. You see him pointing out the foot, and now they're out of bounds. That so well done, and so much profit from experience on that. What a magnificent bout that was. Okay, so I've put together a series of clips here. I think we'll come back to those in just a second. No, we're going to go with those right now. This is a series of clips from the 120-pound final in the New Jersey State Championship, and this match ends up a pretty tough match to work. Actually, this is not the 120 that I'll get to, but this is how the finals start. I should point out here, interestingly enough, New Jersey exercises their option to choose a weight class to start their state finals with, and they chose to start at 170 because in the 152 and 160-pound matches, they had 4 returning state champions. So they chose to make those their featured bouts of the night and started at 170.
Does every state have that option, Rusty?
They do, including New Mexico, including Texas, including Colorado. We all have that option in any tournament if we work together with the coaches, and it does need to be coach initiated or tournament staff initiated. But if all the coaches agree, we can start the finals of any tournament at any weight. And I think it's cool. I wish we would do it, to tell you the truth. Along with that, and I think it was Jet that asked that question. We could in New
that
Mexico,
was me asking.
We could in New Mexico start the 5A, the 4A, the 3A, and the women's competition at all different weights.
I don't think coaches know that.
I think they do, Jason, but a lot of our coaches are still so concerned about other decisions that the easiest thing to do, whether it's a dual meet or a tournament, is to just go from little to big. I don't want to be overly critical, but sometimes our coaches know things that could be in our best interest from a public relations perspective that they choose not to exercise. And that's as gentle as I can be.
Hey, Rusty, this is Nate. Just because I'm sitting here, what would be the benefit of doing that? Just educate me, I guess.
You put your best matches last for the crowd's benefit.
Oh, okay.
It started, Nate, with a dual meet format. When you were a kid, when I was a kid, the heavyweights always wrestled in an empty gym with their own parents watching them, maybe. But everybody else was up out of the bleachers, and it sucked to be a big kid in a traditional high school setting. So the rule came in that there could be a blind draw of some sort prior to the dual meet with weigh-ins, and you could start a dual meet at 170 pounds like this one, which would then have the big guys and the little guys wrestle in the middle, and it was a much better ride for everybody's parents and for the student body. And you didn't have to be that little kid that always had to go, and you didn't have to be that big kid that always wrestled in an empty gym, or be the big kid that was like, coach will pat you on the butt and say, hey, no pressure, cowboy, but it's all up to you. Now that unique experience could belong to 126 pounder. Did that make sense, Nate?
Yeah, absolutely. So if if you have two wrestlers, I guess, that are, it's going to draw, you could put them in a situation where, maybe you put them last to kind of keep everyone around.
You do. And our better coaches in New Mexico and the region will exercise that prerogative when they quote unquote blind draw their weight to start at. Somehow that featured match comes out last, and it's really good for the sport. Okay, so we watched that, and I didn't comment a lot on the assistant referees' positions. These guys do a really nice job. I watch our assistant referee here gets himself a little out of position a couple of times later, but he's doing a nice job now. I will say, and I'm nitpicking here, when you're in the assistant's role, take your whistle off. Nothing good's going to come from him having a whistle on. Look at his trajectory. Look at his rotation. He's in that mold where he's just making it easy for his lead referee. Lead referee does a pretty good job with this too. I mean, this is just a good match. He's making it look easy. Look at him on the edge. Look at both guys on the edge. This is perfect positioning without interfering with the athletes. Really nicely done. Okay. Watch his rotation. This Janzer kid's pretty good. Here comes another out of bounds situation. Look at the positioning there. These guys are making it look easy. There was a point in there, and I don't know if you caught it. I'm not going to go back to this one again, but the lead referee had a pretty serious question about, do you think I should call somebody for stalling? And they chose not to. Nice job. Okay, let me get that one stopped. Same match. Same match. Now, I have a criticism here. Look at the position of both referees. Here, I want the lead referee to be kind of where he is, but supervising what's going on with the person that's bleeding. I do not want this conversation. Yes, it says constant verbal communication. This looks bad. The assistant referee needs to be with the non-injured contestant. We both legitimately monitor behaviors and applications there, but we also present a picture to the crowd that we're concerned about athletes, and we're not talking to each other about who we're going to call for stalling. I don't want those guys doing that. This is later in the same match. I don't know if I can get this one to move or not. Okay, we'll look at that one again. Nice job out of bounds. Nice level change there. And again, I'm not a big fan of assistant taking care of the timing here, but they've chosen not to use tappers. So I'm going to make myself okay with that. Later, same match. I'm trying to get to my deal so I can make it big here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Let me make it big. Can't do it. That other toolbar's in the way. All right. I'm going to rewind that one. No, I'm not. Watch this out of bounds call, or actually it's a stalemate call.
I think you can maximize it now, Rusty.
Thank you. No, every time I move my cursor, that toolbar comes back on. Again, this is in the third overtime, drops to the ankle and gets the immediate stalemate. And the assistant referee happened to have been out of position on that. And I know that's our topic, but I wanted to feature that so you could see the lead referee there apply the rule the way it's supposed to be applied. Immediate stalemate. Nice job. This one I can make big. All right. So we're going into what we lovingly call the ride out. And do I agree with the kid taking an injury timeout? No. But is it a part of the deal? It's part of the deal. Now look at my assistant again. What are you doing? He needs to be with the non-injured athlete and his coaches. I don't know who the guy with the tie on is, but I want to know. Got a little replay in there of the escape. All right, this is the ride out, and this is really well done. Nice position there. You can't see the assistant. Now he needs to rotate. Assistant's out of position as that situation ends. Stalemated that. Now here's the stalemate. Here's the stalemate. Nice job. Nice job. I still don't know where the assistant is now. Yeah, he's not in great position on that one. I think the nerves got to him a little bit on that one. 2 seconds left. Good call on the escape. The end. Okay. So I've got those queued up. If there's something that grabbed your attention, something that needs to be addressed using the videos, please let me know. And if not, we'll continue to move forward here. We're doing well with time tonight. Good. Then get to my controls here. Okay, so again, looking through these, in our regional application, and that includes New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, the El Paso region of Texas, I think the Amarillo region of Texas, and the corner of Kansas. This constant verbal communication is, I don't know what to add there, as needed, but we don't do a lot of chirping. And I haven't, being honest with you, I haven't seen a lot of chirping, a lot of overactivity on the part of the assistant in any part of the country, or in college wrestling, high school wrestling, any kind of scholastic application. And I'm sensitive to it because I never want our being the central referee to be completely ego driven, but we are territorial beings, and there's a certain visual portrayal of respect that goes to the whistle from the assistant. Don't care who you are, don't care experience level, don't care anything. You know, so I really want us to always focus on that idea that the assistant referee's prime responsibility is to make the lead referee look at least as smart as they really are and bail them out of tough spots. We'll get through matches, and you know this, we'll get through matches, countless matches, where the assistant referee never makes a call. That's the way it should be, because the lead referee is in great position doing everything that needs to get done. But, and you guys know what I'm talking about here. We've seen in our history, Jet, we have seen assistant referees in the state championship final that will stand on the mat with their hands in their pocket and act bored. Not good. Not good. Their excuse is, well, this is a great referee and I don't want to get in the way, and so I'm not really going to do anything anyway. Man, that looks bad to mom and grandma in the stands. And then what do you do when a great referee finds themselves out of position, as we all do, and something happens and our assistant is standing over there in the corner with their hands in their pockets? Now we all look dumb. So I cannot emphasize that enough. We don't need to be walking around going, hey, I think red's stalling. That's not the deal. We don't need to be walking, and I will not go back through the videos, but there's one situation in that 170-pound New Jersey match where the assistant actually takes himself out of position to watch wrestling just to watch the clock. That's not okay either. You can help them with how much time's left, but your job is to watch the wrestling. So I'll quit harping on that and get done here.
Hey, Rusty, I have one question real quick.
Go.
How do you signal to the guy on the whistle if you think there is some pretty obvious stalling, kind of being secretive maybe? How do you let him know you think there's stalling going on, if at all?
Oh, that's the best question, Jet, and it's one that's really hard to answer. You're taking us into the absolute extreme situation where it's going to make us all look dumb if something doesn't happen. The best I can do on that one is to maybe try to circle around them And I might go so far as to say, look at red. I really, maybe I've done that twice in my career. Most of the time, and I guess here's the deal, Jet. If you're the lead referee and something really ugly's going on and nobody's scoring and you don't have the guts to make the call, stop and ask. The lead referee being willing to ask for assistance from the assistant is just as important, maybe more important, than the assistant being willing to offer it. You know, and I know that's what those guys were talking about during that overtime is like, you know, hey, does anybody have a stalling warning? No. Well, if you're going to get somebody, who is it? Yeah, probably green. You know, you can go that far during a break in the action. And I know I'm dancing around your question, Jet, but I guess the straightest answer I can give you is if the lead referee is just incompetent and they're going to make you look stupid, then circle around behind them and say, hey, look at red.
Yeah, I know that's a tough question to answer, and I didn't really expect an answer. I didn't know if we should even do that at all, really. I wasn't real too sure.
It's a hard situation to be in, and it's one that doesn't happen really all that often. You know, we're fortunate in our region that if we're using an assistant referee, then we're in the semis or the finals. So the wrestling there is usually pretty good, you know, and we're working with good referees. But thank you for the question, because it really is the question that we have to use the rule and the interpretation of the rule, the letter and the spirit, as we interpret that. Okay, so this is just some current events, and we'll be done here soon. I know that you guys are paying attention, and Dana, I know for sure that it's constant discussion in your office. Different states all around the country are scheduling their wrestling seasons at different times. North Carolina has an identical schedule to New Mexico's, and I believe California is identical to New Mexico. You know, but here we are with state governments and their subsidiaries, and we find ourselves in a unique situation during this pandemic that wrestling's happening at different times in different parts of the country. So for you guys in the Four Corners, this one's a tough one, because your closest travel is Durango, Ignacio, Bayfield, Pagosa, Cortez, Monticello, you know, and yet our seasons don't match up. Arizona has not made any decision at all yet, and while everything is tentative and everything is certainly a day-to-day decision-making process, at this point, Utah, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas are still scheduled as per tradition. You have to suspect that some of that's going to change. You know, now the reason that I include this information is that it may, I don't know exactly the logistics, but Jet, Jason, Paul, this may impact you guys and your ability to reciprocate in the Four Corners of Colorado or Utah. Certainly this impacts. Okay. Certainly this impacts our brothers in the El Paso, Las Cruces area, because we do cross state borders. And as it looks now, there may be wrestling in El Paso in January, February, and not in Las Cruces. So as we start talking about scheduling and we start having our preparation clinics and all that sort of thing, ours will, Dana, correct me if I'm wrong, ours will likely be in the spring break time of the year, you know, to complement our season. But as I learn more about what may be happening in terms of reciprocation, I will share that with you. I also just got off a conference call about an hour and a half ago or a Zoom meeting, not a conference call, a Zoom meeting. And I know that there's a lot of concern out there about some of the, how should we call them, wildcat organizations and hosting tournaments or competitions in maybe less than responsible ways at less than responsible times. And the point of the agenda item in our Zoom meeting was that USA Wrestling, as the national governing body, has to take a position to support state activities associations with a capital S on support. I know that in Nevada, the Nevada State Association is not going to host a state championship, but they've asked USA Wrestling to host a non-activities association sponsored activity during that time. So the point of this is that every state association has their own paradigms, their own structures, and as a responsible contributor, USA Wrestling is offering to help, but not stepping in and doing stupid things. And some of the wildcat organizations out there really are taking a chance on getting wrestling as a sport in worse trouble than the pandemic's already got us in. So I hope I've phrased that accurately enough. I know that as time goes on, there will be situations in all of our bordering states where we may be able to referee and where our athletes may be able to legally and responsibly compete, whether it's under the banner of high school sports or in the quote-unquote club domain. I'm sure that we'll stay posted on that. I know that Sally's got her finger on the pulse all the time, which means that Dana does also. So enough with that.
So, Rusty, I have a quick question. So, in the situation where our is offset, for example, Las Cruces and El Paso, would the schools still compete in tournaments after their state finals match?
Jason, I only got part of that. There's still an echo. Try again.
Okay, so and New Mexico, our seasons are offset. But a lot of times the Texas schools come to New Mexico to compete in tournaments. Would they be able to compete in those same tournaments after their high school state tournament?
I understand your question now, and I don't know if you're hearing the same echo from me, but as I understood it, if El Paso's season, Texas season ends prior to New Mexico's season, would the Las Cruces Invitational be able to host El Paso high school athletes under the Texas Activities Association's sanction? Dana, correct me if I'm wrong, but my answer is no.
I would agree with you. If their season in Texas is already over, the UIL in this case, or CHASA, if it were on the northwestern part of the state, if their season's over, they wouldn't be able to wrestle as high school athletes in our tournaments. And then, of course, they couldn't wrestle under another umbrella in New Mexico. So that would be my understanding. And I don't know, honestly. I know that Sally's talked quite a bit, and this would be a question I need to ask her, but one of the things she's talked about quite a bit is tournaments, and will we even have them, because we're looking at restricting travel. So I know in other sports there will be no tournaments. I don't know how that will affect wrestling, so I need to probably talk to Scott about that. But I know volleyball, basketball, the team sports, there won't be tournaments, but I don't know about individual sports, wrestling, swimming. track, they're going to have to limit participants somehow. So what used to be like 2-day meets in that sport, they're looking to do 1 day. So it'll be pretty interesting. But you know, wrestling is still a ways off. So I know that things could change quite drastically as far as what the governor allows and all of that. So we'll just keep everybody posted. And one of the things Rusty was talking about was officials training, and I did type in the chat area. April 6th will be the NMAA Wrestling District Clinic, and that'll be for coaches and officials. And then April 7th is the NMOA State Clinic for officials only. Everything will be done online this year, so it'll be a little bit of a change from the combined coaches officials clinic that we've done the last several years. And this is, you know, for this year only. We're just trying to make do with the situation at hand. So we'll keep everybody posted. Again, these are all tentative and subject to change. I've said on most of these officials webinars that the decisions change with the wind, and it's pretty windy in New Mexico. So it's ever changing, and we're just trying to keep abreast of everything.
You answered my question already, Dana. I was about to ask if that April 6th and 7th is carved in stone, and at this point it is tentative. So I'll tell you why I'm asking that sometime soon.
Sounds good.
Rusty and Dana, we had a meeting last night with the Texas group officials, and you are correct. So UIL, just like New Mexico, UIL has requirements of how many matches you can have during the season, as same as New Mexico has like a point system, right? So yes, I believe that's we talked about last night, that there won't be any overflow to if the seasons don't run together. Texas is looking at duels only. They're trying to start in maybe January, just run duels all the way till they do districts and things like that. They're going to try to figure how that works. Even our state tournament, we have 4 divisions going on at one time, and they're talking about splitting into different locations, right? Instead of having the whole tournament in one site. So as we go along, I'll give you guys more information as well. Thank you, Rusty, for providing those other locations like California, North Carolina, and what they have in store too. It helps us try to decide. Texas, actually, when I told them last night about New Mexico going to April, that's why that was brought up, just like what Jason asked. So they were talking about maybe trying to push it back, right? If they can push back wrestling back a little farther, maybe to mix it with New Mexico or other areas like Oklahoma or something like that. So they did talk about that last night too.
Thank you, Willie. So there you go. We have a lot on our plates. And unfortunately, in this paradigm, none of us really have much control over it. And I know that's frustrating. You know, but I chose to end with Sir Francis Bacon's quote here that you know, our opportunities to get together and share information really, I know they help me sleep better at night, you know, and I hope they provide some bit of a place to hang on to for others. I really enjoy this opportunity of just being able to get together and talk about things. So we're scheduled again Monday, September 21st. In general, our pre-planned topic was about our association memberships and local groups. I'm sure that'll broaden, but it's not too early for us to start thinking about how we can continue to stay together through the fall and the winter and keep our thinking caps on and keep our interest peaked and just share whatever this beautiful thing that brings us together. So with that, I have everything still loaded. I can go back if you want to watch videos again. I can at least field questions and we can discuss them as a group if that's your choice. It is 6:55. So if you're ready to call it a night, I can certainly respect that. And then we'll go again when we get the opportunity. I'm going to shut up for about 30 seconds and listen for questions. Hearing none, let me again just wish you and your families well. Dana, thanks for putting this together.
Of course.
And thank you guys for taking time. Give regards to your families and say thank you. And you know, stay healthy, stay emotionally healthy. Do the things that it takes to answer to families and friends. So with that, you know, with love, I will say good night, and I'll stay on for a couple of minutes if there are any questions.
Thank you.
Rusty,
Thanks, everybody.
Rusty, thanks again for doing this for us, and we'll reconvene on September 21st. And everybody who logged in, thank you for your time and staying engaged with your officiating colleagues and with our office. It is a pleasure for me to see or hear all of you and enlighten myself about wrestling officiating. I probably still don't know a whole lot about it, but at least I get to spend time with you all. So it's much appreciated. And this, you know, one of the things I've said in every webinar is this season we have to be as flexible as possible, and we have to stay light on our feet because we'll have to pivot on a dime. So just be prepared for that, and you know, we'll keep sending out information as we get it. I apologize for the email overkill, but I'd rather tell you more information than not enough. So I appreciate you bearing with me through all of that.
Hey, and I just want to say, man, Rusty, you know, every wrestling webinar that I have been on, I mean, the presentation, the delivery, just how efficient you are in your presentation. I take plenty of notes so that when I'm presenting, I carry some of that stuff over. So kudos to you. I just think you run a pretty good show. So for those of you that are on, you know, man, you guys are super lucky to have somebody like Rusty it's truly an educator in officiating.
I agree.
I appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
All right. It looks like no other chats, no other questions. So everybody, thanks for joining us, and Rusty, thanks again. And if anybody thinks of anything that you need to ask Rusty, you all have his contact information. If there's anything you need me to forward on to Scott and or Sally, please just shoot me a text or an email and I can get that to them. So the more COVID related questions go straight to Sally, and I kind of try to stay as far away from that as possible, both COVID and COVID related questions. So if you have anything that you think of, feel free to shoot them my way and I'll give them to the right people. But I look forward to working with you all again this season. As far off as it may be, it will be here before we know it. I know it doesn't seem that way, but it will be. So thanks for what you do for kids in the sport of wrestling and for being such great advocates for the sport. I really do appreciate each of you. Good night, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. And